Greetings, Chummer, and welcome back to another RIT90s recap for Season 2, Episode 34, Friends on the Bottom of High Places, Part 3. After making it up to the Star District, Xero slips into an alleyway and down into the underground maintenance area that sprawls out beneath the bustling city above. The area is dimly lit, and Xero's vision is obscured by a persistent haze of steam. With Jekyll's coordinates in mind, Xero dons his mech suit and cautiously pilots it through the maze of large pipes. As he begins his search, Xero sends several small drones ahead to scan for signs of life or technology that might identify Jekyll's lab. After a few moments, he finds his mark 24 floors down. Descending through the darkness, Xero is accosted by the sounds of creatures skittering between the pipes and dripping water. In the warehouse, Lance notices that Arthur has been distanced since his video call with Jekyll. Lance calmly approaches to check in on him, but is met with an unusual hesitancy from Arthur. When pressed on the issue, Arthur reveals that Jekyll suffers from a severe paranoia and PTSD. Arthur is worried that he might do something to harm himself. He implores the party that Jekyll is scared, and that makes him dangerous. Percy wanders over to join the conversation as well, while Merlin speeds across the astral plane searching for Ben's soul. Merlin arrives at her astral marker to find that someone has already beat her to Ben. A large, armored astral figure with fur, claws, and a long cloak looms above Ben's amorphous spirit, but is unable to grasp it. Merlin notices the wolf symbol on the back of his cloak before she hides behind a tree in her astral grove. Suddenly, seeming to come from no direction at all, Merlin hears him growl, "Mercedes." As the voice echoes around her, the wolf catapults himself across astral space and towards the grove. In one fluid motion, he hurtles a flaming wrought iron spear into the center of the grove, setting it ablaze. She holds her position, enduring the flames before rocketing herself at full speed away from the grove. The wolf pursues, but quickly loses ground as Merlin escapes back to the warehouse. After hearing Arthur's concerns, Lance and Percy attempt to put together a plan that doesn't put Arthur in any unreasonable danger. They both disagree with Arthur's plan to go in completely alone. Instead, they suggest that they can set off Jekyll's trap from a distance and then send Arthur in to negotiate. Arthur counters that perhaps it'd be better if he still went in first. Lance and Percy compromise and note that Arthur could go in, feign as if he would like to set off the trap and injure himself, and see if they could bluff Jekyll into disabling the trap for the sake of his friend. Back in the Undercity, Xero pauses to survey his surroundings, finding a large symbol spray-painted on the wall. With some help, he recognizes it as the symbol for Tenebrae, a faction of the organ-legging crime syndicate Tanimus. Now on edge, he turns his attention to the scuttling creatures, but not before one jumps onto the front of his mech and stabs one of its appendages into the chest plate. Xero recoils and charges up an energy beam to try and deflect the onslaught of squid-light amalgamates. In a feat of impressive dexterity, Xero manages to escape the swarm through a mix of aerial maneuvers and gymnastics. After descending 20 floors, the squids stop pursuing, and Xero is able to land safely on the 22nd floor. Xero, confident that this spot is as safe as any to rendezvous with the team, signals the party to exit the warehouse. Once the Neon Knights rejoin Xero in meat space, Arthur's attention is temporarily drawn to the strange squid-like sentries that guard the tunnel. He wonders if Jekyll could have created them, but muses that it must have been something else since, according to his memory, Jekyll never made new creatures. Trying to get back on task, Arthur redirects his attention to a series of signals 2 floors down, noting that there are 2 doors that could be Jekyll's lab. However, one appears to have a weaker signal, which the party assumes is the trap. Percy and Xero fall back to give Arthur space to approach the opposite door. Merlin prepares a magical shield while Lancelot raises his wooden door to shield Arthur from any traps that may be above. Using his puppeteer skill, Arthur takes control of one of the security cameras to address his friend. However, the voice that responds is almost incoherent, and Arthur realizes, a moment too late, that the party is no longer speaking to Jekyll. They're dealing with Hyde. Suddenly, strings of lights flare up and jaunty music blares overhead as 2 swollen, muscled arms throw the door open and rustle Arthur into the darkness. Before Lance and the rest of the group can react, the door slams shut and the music swells. Lance, quick to recover, kicks the door open, triggering a small explosive device that is smothered as the metal door careens across the room. The room beyond is cluttered with miscellaneous crates, computer equipment, and small roving bots with weapons affixed to their chassis. Writing on the walls adds to the chaotic feel of the room with phrases like "death, death, death," "boiling, boiling, my blood, it hurts," covering almost every blank surface. Across the room, Lance can see Hyde disappear beneath the cellar door, dragging Arthur along with him. Without a moment to lose, Lance removes one of the metal orbs from his belt and hurls it at the cellar door, activating a localized gravitational pull that draws Arthur, Hyde, and himself, along with everything else in the room, toward it. Arthur, seeing this occur, tries to reform Excalibur as a shield, but fails as he and Hyde tumble upwards into the wake of the debris. Lance strains against the pull of gravity using his wooden door to help him brace against the metal door frame. As he does, he's hit with a memory of his past that encourages him to hold fast, triggering the magic of his shield, the Grail of Patience. The gravitational pull subsides, and Lance rushes to dig Arthur out of the rubble. Arthur is beside himself, begging Merlin to use her magic to heal Jekyll, who is currently impaled by some of the shrapnel. After stabilizing Jekyll, the party gets a good look at what Arthur's friend has become. His skin is a smooth blend of a variety of human metatypes that create a patchwork across his form. It's as if different parts of Jekyll rapidly goblinized into various metatypes. Arthur is taken aback, slowly realizing just what Jekyll has done to himself. In the uneasy calm that follows, Xero enters the room, finally finding the man he was looking for. Tune in next episode to find out what happens next. And always remember, the birds work for the bourgeoisie.